Right now, the calendar on your wall says one thing. But what if it was wrong? Not by a day, not by a year, by nearly 3 centuries. In 1991, a German historian named Herbert Illig published a claim so unsettling it changed how some people think about recorded time. His argument: the years 614 to 911 AD never happened. The Dark Ages were fabricated. The idea is called the phantom time hypothesis. If Illig is right, you are not living in the year you think you are. Inserted into the timeline by powerful men who had every reason to lie and the reach to make it permanent. Most historians reject it, but the fact that it requires real evidence and real archaeology to push back against says something important about how much of the past you have accepted entirely on trust. It begins with a calendar problem. In 1582, Pope Gregory XIII reformed the Julian calendar. The Julian system, used since Julius Caesar around 46 BC, had accumulated roughly 11 minutes of error per year. Over centuries, those minutes became days. By 1582, the calendar was running 10 days behind the actual position of Earth in its orbit. Gregory skipped 10 days, and the Gregorian calendar was born. But Herbert Illig stopped and did the arithmetic. If the Julian calendar had been accumulating error since 46 BC, then by 1582, after 1,628 years, the total drift should have been roughly 13 days. Not 10. 3 days are missing. To most scholars, this was a rounding error. To Illig, it was a fingerprint. Evidence that 297 years had been inserted into the historical record. Years invented rather than lived. Years that never accumulated calendar drift because they never happened. How do you fabricate 3 centuries? Illig points to 3 men. Otto III, Holy Roman Emperor, obsessed with positioning himself at the center of the Christian millennium. Pope Sylvester II, born Gerbert of Aurillac, a mathematician so far ahead of his time that contemporaries suspected a deal with the devil, who as Pope controlled the Church's entire historical archive. And Constantine VII, Byzantine Emperor, who controlled the archives of the Eastern Roman Empire. 3 men, 3 archives, 1 motive. The year 1000 AD carried immense theological weight. To reign at the literal turning of the millennium placed you at the center of divine history. But if the actual year was closer to 703 AD, that moment was 3 centuries away. So you move the year. You fill the gap with fabricated chronicles, forged documents, invented rulers, just enough texture to make blank centuries look inhabited. The period Illig claims was invented is exactly what historians call the most poorly documented era in Western history. Records are thin, mostly copied by hand inside church institutions. And history proves the medieval church did forge documents. The donation of Constantine, fabricated to grant the Pope authority over the Western Roman Empire, was cited as fact for centuries before scholars exposed it. The most famous figure of the Phantom period is Charlemagne, father of Europe. Illig argues he either never existed or was a fictional construction, a legendary hero invented to give empty centuries a credible protagonist. Mainstream historians push back firmly. Islamic and Byzantine scholars, writing independently in Arabic and Greek, recorded interactions with Frankish rulers consistent with Carolingian chronology. Astronomical records from Chinese and Islamic observers place eclipses in the phantom centuries exactly where they should be if those years occurred. Dendrochronology, reading annual growth rings in ancient trees, provides an unbroken record of every year. No gap, no missing centuries. The phantom time hypothesis is almost certainly wrong. Almost certainly. But here is the question it leaves behind. How much of the past do you actually know? Versus how much do you believe because someone told you, and those people controlled what got written down? The year on your phone traces back to 1582, which traces to 46 BC. mediated through 1,000 years of record keeping by institutions with everything to gain from controlling what people believed about time. That chain of custody is very long, and somewhere in the middle of it, 3 days went missing. Right now, the calendar on your wall says one thing, but the past is not a place you can visit. It is a story written by the powerful, handed to you as fact, and 3 days are still missing.
But wait, there is more! Comment below, what hidden history should I uncover next? See you in the next one.